So I've just been watching a series on Netflix called Fate: The Winx Saga. I have no saga. I think that is. I have no idea why it's called the Winx Saga because that makes absolute sense. It's about fairies. But yes, it's interesting. I found it very interesting because usually when you have like Witch and Wizard School, it's got you got like the X-Men series, and then you've got the but they're more like that's more like films, and then you've got my voice is hurting, and then you've got like lots and lots of wizard and witchery, Harry Potter kind of stuff, and they kind of focus on like wizard and witches, that name. So it's interesting how this one is called. They're calling themselves fairies, which I actually prefer. I feel like the term fairy kind of, for me, it sums up like some sort of fantasy, but at the same time it makes me think of like a fantasy world, a different type of world, a different type of place, and I'm really kind of enjoying it just because I like the idea of believing that there's some sort of other world where there's this other kind of species, and I think they kind of look like fairies, like without the wings. I think if they had wings, and yeah, I think if you could have like a fairy that looks like a human, and then you just like click its finger, and then wings sort of blow out of its back, and it can fly away. I think that would be so cool. But yeah, obviously that would probably be very expensive to have wings. So although it would be interesting actually if they go on to have like a series where the school training is all about getting fairies prepared for having wings, and then you could have like the last series where they gain the wings. It's like the graduation ceremony. They gain the wings, and my hair looks terrible. And then they go elsewhere because they've got wings, so they can now fly to a different place. But yes, I don't know. I'm enjoying watching this. I watched the Wicked film yesterday, and that film just seemed like kind of like a standard. You take there's loads of bad evil characters, but then they've taken things like Maleficent film, and they've tried to turn a bad character and give that bad character more story to explain why they're bad. Yeah, it kind of just seemed like a very standard version of that, where Glinda is the good witch, but really she's not the good witch. She's just a popular witch, e.g., the witch that is willing to just side with the people who run the city, and the people at the bottom are all just happy and skippy in sort of Ozland, and they just want to have some sort of good and bad, and I guess the bad witch was like, I am the bad witch, but I'm only going to be the bad witch because you want some sort of evil, and you're happy to create some sort of evil just so you can try and protect the citizens from this evil, even though this evil doesn't actually exist. And if you're going to start doing that, you might as well do it to me, because I don't know. That was kind of her deal. I didn't really like the film just because I don't like musicals. And when you're watching a film and they just start bursting out into song, it doesn't really. I love the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory one, the first one, not the second one or the third one, but the first one was really good. But yeah, this one is I much prefer the Fate film rather than the Wicked one, because I felt like the Fate one, they didn't. Only one of them seemed to have power, and that was the Wicked Witch, who wasn't even wicked. Whereas this one, there is some burnt creatures that they are actually fighting. But yeah, I don't know. There is good and bad to it. So I like the idea of there being like another world. I feel like it's inspiring my imagination, and it'd be like really cool to believe that there's some other world, and it's kind of making me think. What happens if you've got the humans die, and I create the sprites, which are basically just like humans, only they have like some sort of spiritual connection to me, and yeah, I think it's strange to do a timeline where people kind of have spiritual links to you, but if you are maybe if you can create like a fairy species, like this in this series where people have magical powers, kind of like the X-Men, only I think the X-Men though have their powers are so strong that it's almost it's too dangerous. I think I mean the powers that these fairies have are very very strong. They can like grow flowers, or that's the earth fairy, or they can read people's mind, the mind fairy, or they can have flat flame coming out their hands, which is a fire fairy. I mean, yeah, these powers are big, definitely, but they're slightly more contained. I feel like the X-Men one is the X-Men one is so their power is so great that I think they'd only end up being a danger to themselves because they're clearly not ready for the powers that the show give them. Whereas this film is like that, but the powers are a little bit more smaller. So, but because of that, it means that they're safer. You know, I think if humans just tomorrow all started getting the power to create fire in their hand, I'm pretty sure that I won't ever need to start a war again because everyone will be dead in a very short time. You know, people will be accidentally creating fires if they have an argument with someone. There'll be some very stupid, mindless people that just don't care about anyone else and just care about money. So they're going to be starting using the fire that they can create to try and just rob banks and stuff. I don't know, the whole system. If you think about how shitty and horrible humans are, imagine if half the population suddenly started be able to take fire in their hand, like just something small, even if it's just a small fire that big. The number of forests that will end up being burnt down accidentally, or the number of houses that will end up being burnt down, or the number of people that would end up being killed by people that have just had like some sort of road incident. You bumped my car, and then die. You know, humans are so freaking bad that they couldn't have power at all because they'll just use it for their own selfish means. And I think with this fate one, you are seeing that, you know, there are some that have power and are using it very badly. I mean, I think it's very unrealistic how so one of the fairies accidentally set her house on fire and almost killed her parents, and they realized that she had this headmistress of the school realized she had power, and she invited her to stay at this school. I mean, the school is luxury, the school is nice, there's lots of nice rooms, people that are like her. You know, if that was me, I would be like, wow, I've always wanted this would be so cool. You know, I went to a boarding school, and part of the excitement was kind of believing that, oh, maybe this is like Harry Potter, or maybe I am going to find out information about me and find out secrets about me, and it's going to be really cool. But it was just a prison, and they treated me like a child, and I didn't like that because I never felt like a child. And then I was kind of like, I want to go back home, but then I hated my parents, and I was like, no, I don't want to go back home. So I kind of relate to her in that sense because, well, she didn't hate her parents, but but I feel I can relate to her because she clearly liked the school and wanted to stay there. But yeah, it doesn't make sense how she found out that her parents weren't actually her parents because she's a fairy and it's got quite a strong power. She's not like a fairy that's just kind of born from humans. It's clearly a fairy that's born from other fairies because her power is much greater than that of a new fairy born from, you know, from the old species. But because of that, she realized that her parents weren't her parents and that there was someone else. And then there was this girl who seemed very untrustworthy, and for some reason she seemed to trust her, which didn't make really much sense. You know, if this girl was smart, she wouldn't have trusted someone like that because someone else did trust someone like that, and it ended up being killed by her. So she has actually killed someone already. But but she this person confessed that she killed that person, and then said, but I can give you more information, you just need to free this person because this is the person who took you when you were a baby and gave you to the parents, and I can give you information because I can if you let me out, I'll help you get this person out, which I think is just the most stupidest thing to do because she just learned that the person who put her in this family had been lying to everyone around her and not telling people where she was or anything, and then she found out that her parents might have been in this village, and this whole village was burnt down by the person who apparently kidnapped her and took her away. And so why would you trust, or why would you want to find that person or free that person? I feel like it doesn't make any sense. That part didn't make any sense. And then the friend that killed that other person, she wanted to be let out, and she did let her out, and I just, why would you do that? I mean, if someone's just, if a headmistress in the school has trusted you enough to say, hey, I'm going to give you a free accommodation, free housing, or I don't know if the parents are paying it, maybe her parents were paying for it because they thought it was just a normal school. I don't know that if they were paying or not, but I still think she should be grateful for the situation and the housing that she's in, and not turn against the headmistress. The headmistress locked this person up in prison, the person who gave her to someone else, but didn't tell anyone. So why would you go against the person that is helping you? to go and free someone that they've put in prison. Okay, they might have information, but if they're in prison, you must say that they're in there for a reason. So to let both people out for her own self, I felt like that was a very selfish thing to do. And because she was only just thinking about, I want to know who my parents are. This is the person who gave me to these human parents, and I don't care about anyone else that's helped me or anyone else around me. I'm just going to do whatever it takes to find out the information that I want, because I want to know who my parents are, and this person knows who my parents are. So I felt like that was a very selfish thing to do, and that's kind of I think it's things like this that make humans, is the reason why, if there is a possibility that humans can have magical powers, and I think like and stuff like this, I feel like these are the kind of reasons why I wouldn't want humans to have magical powers, because they're selfish and they only care about themselves, and this need to only serve yourself. I mean, it's something that you need to have when you're a baby. When you're a baby and you need to survive, you need this. And when you're a bird in a nest, you know, you want your mother bird to feed you, and if you don't start getting big, you know, I saw in a nest the other day, there was lots of sort of healthy looking babies, and then there was like a little half size baby that probably just hatched later or something, and it wasn't growing in the same way, and then the mother just killed it. And you know, I feel like things like that have trained the soul into serving itself. Feed yourself, because that's how you survive, and that's how it is at the beginning. But this need to serve only yourself, it sort of seems to live in lots of people, and it kind of grows up. And so it's annoying to come across a film where I was like, oh, this is nice, they have all powers, and then to see this sort of selfish need of not caring about the people that are helping you, and only start caring about yourself and the information that you want to know. And then the leader that was freed and let out, she actually went on to kill the headmistress of that school, and she doesn't know that yet. But I just feel I feel like that's kind of ruined the sort of plot line for me, because this girl who, you know, was helped by the headmistress and is given a nice place to live with people who are like her, and you know, having this person has done her a favor, and she's gone and freed someone that person had put in prison, and that person's gone and killed her, and now she's dead because of this person. And I feel like that kind of kills the niceness of them being called fairies. You know, fairies are supposed to be nice things, and now they're not nice in this. So yeah, it's not about the name in this sense. It's about how they are and stuff. But I don't know. I'm watching it and I'm enjoying. I think it's better than the Wicked, because the Wicked films seem to be the standard. When I say films are bad, and they have been since COVID, I'm really referring to the films that are in cinema. I feel like there are some really good films out there, but they're not making it into the Everyman Cinema, which is the cinema that I'm a member of, so I can get like tickets I can see as many films as I want, basically, without having to pay. So even if I fall asleep during it doesn't matter. But I just find that the films that I'm watching in cinema, a lot of them I feel like I need to walk out of. You know, the Donald Trump one wasn't bad. It's just the general public in New York was so terrible that it was kind of like, okay, I don't really like the Trump and all the characters around him, but then I like the average people of New York even less. And so I found that I would say I didn't like it because of just how awful the general people are in I don't know, there was some prostitute harassing him in the beginning, and I was just okay, I don't want to watch this. And then what other films were? The Smile one, that was just sick. That was totally sick, and it's just like, why would anyone want to watch this? And so when I say all the films are bad, I'm not referring to things that I'm watching on Netflix. I'm referring to I'm referring to the films that I've seen in the cinema. It's just, people can't tell the difference between good and bad films, and I feel like the ones that are making it into the cinema are the ones that I don't really like as much. But anyway, I'm enjoying this, except for the fact that these characters who have this power just seem so flawed, and if humans aren't evolving to this kind of stage or this kind of power, or I don't know if there is another world where people have the power to like just do anything or something, you know, I just feel like if you look at how people would react if they were given the power, how many people on Earth, if they were given the power to be able to just go like that and burn someone into like dust, and basically get rid of the evidence because there's not even like teeth left or anything. How many people would actually use that power just for their own selfish desire? You could do it for a good reason. Go and find people that have stolen things and then burn them up, and then sort of steal all the stuff that they've stolen. And how many people would just use this power for good, and versus how many people that would just take advantage of it. I think power does corrupt people, but yeah, that's just